Welcome back to Timeless Sagas, my lovely time travelers. Today, we embark on an epic journey to explore the history of a land that has been at the crossroads of civilization since the dawn of time, a place that has seen it all: the rise and fall of empires, invasions, and the birth of an entire nation. Yes, my friends, we're talking about the land of Armenia. So, buckle up and get ready for a roller coaster ride through the annals of history. Now, let's set the stage for our tale by going back to the very beginning, around 9th century BC. The Urartian kingdom, one of the first to emerge in the region, was an Iron Age powerhouse that stretched from the shores of Lake Van to the banks of the Urartius River. The Urartians were famed for their metalwork and their mastery of irrigation, but as the Assyrians began to rise in power, the Urartian kingdom started to crumble, eventually giving way to the kingdom of Van in the 6th century BC. Enter the Orontid dynasty. Around 6th century BC, the Orontids established the first Armenian state, which covered parts of present-day Turkey, Iran, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. The Orontids were a savvy bunch, forming alliances with the mighty Achaemenid Empire of Persia, and eventually becoming satraps, that's governors, for you modern folks, of the region. But, as they say, all good things must come to an end, and the Orontids were no exception. The rise of Alexander the Great and his conquest of Persia saw the decline of the Orontid dynasty and the birth of the Artaxiad dynasty, around 189 BC. Now, the Artaxiad era was quite the golden age for Armenia, with King Tigranes the Great ruling over a vast empire stretching from the Caspian Sea to the Mediterranean. Tigranes was a real go-getter, and under his reign, the Armenian kingdom experienced unprecedented prosperity and cultural growth. But alas, as is the fate of many empires, the Romans came a-knocking, and in 69 BC, Tigranes was forced to become a vassal of Rome. But fear not, my friends, for Armenia was not down and out. The Roman Empire was going through a bit of a domestic dispute. Maybe you've heard of it? The infamous Roman civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey? Well, during this tumultuous time, the Parthians swooped in and installed a new Armenian king, Artawastes II. He was like, "Thanks, Parthians. You're the best." But, as these things often go, Rome eventually got its act together, and by 34 BC, Armenia was back under Roman influence. In the year 301 AD, Armenia would make history once again. This time, it was for something truly groundbreaking. Under the rule of King Tiridates III, Armenia became the first ever nation to adopt Christianity as its state religion. This religious transformation was spearheaded by none other than Saint Gregory the Illuminator, who, after a bit of a rocky start involving a dungeon and some divine intervention, won over the king's heart and led him to embrace Christianity. This monumental event would shape the course of Armenian history and culture for centuries to come. Fast forward to the 5th century, and Armenia is caught in the middle of a tug-of-war between the Byzantine and Sassanid empires. At this point, our feisty little nation decides to play it smart and become a buffer state between the two empires. But even the best-laid plans can go awry, and Armenia would find itself bouncing back and forth between these two superpowers. Throughout the Middle Ages, Armenia continued to be a hotbed for political intrigue and power struggles. The Bagratid dynasty brought a brief reprieve from the chaos, with the construction of the magnificent Ani, the city of 1,001 churches. But alas, devastating invasions by the Seljuk Turks and Mongols would usher in a new era of instability. Now, here's where things start to get a little Game of Thrones-y. In the 14th century, Armenia was divided into a bunch of smaller principalities, and a couple of powerful families, the Zakards and the Proteans, were jockeying for control. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire was on the rise, and by the early 16th century, most of Armenia was under Ottoman rule. But wait, there's more. Armenia's eastern territories were absorbed into another emerging empire, the Safavid dynasty of Persia. Now, while being split between two empires might not sound like a great time, it did lead to a fascinating cultural exchange, with Armenian art, architecture, and literature flourishing under both Ottoman and Persian rule. Let's jump ahead to the 19th century. The tides of change are sweeping through the region, with the Russian Empire setting its sights on the South Caucasus. After a series of wars between Russia and Persia, eastern Armenia was ceded to the Russian Empire. This gave rise to the birth of a new Armenian intellectual class, who would play a critical role in the cultural and political awakening of the Armenian people. As we approach the 20th century, things take a darker turn. The Armenian genocide, perpetrated by the Ottoman Empire during World War I, would lead to the deaths of an estimated 1.5 million Armenians. This horrific chapter in Armenian history left deep scars on the nation's psyche, but it also fueled the Armenian people's resolve to fight for their independence. In 1918, following the collapse of the Russian Empire, the First Republic of Armenia was established. Sadly, the fledgling republic faced insurmountable challenges and was short-lived, as it was annexed by the Soviet Union in 1920. However, the spirit of the Armenian people remained strong, and their cultural identity continued to thrive under Soviet rule. Finally, in 1991, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Armenia declared its independence and established the modern Republic of Armenia. Since then, the country has faced numerous challenges, including economic hardships, political turmoil, and regional conflicts. But through it all, the Armenian people have held on to their rich history and culture, making it an essential part of their national identity. That's it for our whirlwind tour of Armenian history. I hope you've enjoyed this thrilling saga of a nation that has survived and thrived through centuries of adversity. If you want to learn more about the fascinating stories that make up the tapestry of our world's history, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Sagas. Until next time, my fellow history buffs, keep exploring the timeless tales of our past.